Welcome on to the court from Australia, the teaming of Matthew Abella and William Holmes.
Welcome back to centre court. We are about to get underway. Game 2 of Saturday morning action, and we have an Australian team taking on an international combination, a European combination. This morning at the far end of the court you have the Australians, Abella and Holmes, and this end of the court wearing the blue, the Italy-German combination of Rigonelli and Gruneg. They are here, they are ready to get underway. This is game 2 on Saturday, the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour Finals. Early point there for the Europeans. I'm going to call them the Europeans, it's much easier. First thing in the morning for me to get my tongue around. So a point apiece early on in this match. Ouch. Oh, it could have ended badly. There was a post and a player on a collision course. The post was going nowhere, the player was heading straight towards it, but fortunately it ended okay, no great dramas. 2-1, the Europeans with their noses in front early, but a service error makes it 2-all. Both these teams yesterday struggled a little bit with results. The Europeans, in fact, both these teams come into this match having not won a match yet. They both lost yesterday. They lost both their matches to Christopher Blake and Robert Reeves and Bart Bolsterly and Aaron Crook. So they lost their matches yesterday. So both looking for first wins of the competition. The good news at this stage down here at Manly Beach is that it does not look like rain at all, which will be fantastic because VolleyFest, unfortunately, this time round, the VolleyFest 2017 edition has been a wet and windy affair up until now, but today, best conditions of VolleyFest so far, without a doubt. No wind, you can see in the flags here that there is very little wind. Bit of cloud cover about to keep the sun at bay. It's really perfect conditions for beach volleyball, perfect conditions for spectators if you want to come down and watch. I can thoroughly recommend it. Especially later on today when we start getting into quarterfinals and we see some really crackerjack matchups on centre court. This game going point for point at the moment. Both teams looking for their first win of the competition, having lost their matches yesterday. So very keen to get a W next to their name. Oh yes, good work there from Abella. There's the touch on the net there from the Europeans. I think the Australians had that rally in the bag though. They seem to be in control there in any case, but the net touch bringing the Europeans up short there. 8-all now. The Australians have fought back to tie this one up. Good hustling there from the Australians to keep that ball alive, but it's a free ball now for the... Oh, but they've mucked it up a little bit. They had a free ball, but they've botched it up. Oh, and just the overset there. And this time a net touch from the Australians. So frustration there for both teams. Nice placement there from Abella. Plenty of vacant real estate there for him to work with, which is all well and good, but you've still got to be able to place the ball there. It takes a bit more than you might think, a bit more skill. Levels it up at 9-all. Nice work again. The set was pretty good actually from Holmes. Gives the Australians the lead for the first time, I think, possibly in this set, 10-9.
How much do you love me? All of them.
Words cannot measure. Joe Healy has just returned from the shop with a muffin and coffee. I mean, how good is this girl? How valuable is she? How important is she as part of this commentary team? 11-9 now for the Australians. A couple of points in a row there as we go to the technical timeout. It's Australia with their noses in front. They lead the Europeans 11-10 as we go for a sit down.
That's right.
He stuck around for a little bit longer. Everyone else kicks in, pops it down the lines, good level things up at 11 all. Comes in the Bella, of course, from Victoria. Yeah, great state tour. Trying their hand on the national tour at the moment. They're a good team, a well-balanced team.
So a nice little cheeky play there. Matabella finding the line. So we are, of course, bringing you centre court action here from Manly Beach. It's the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour Finals. It's still early. It's not quite as early as it was for the first game. That was stupid o'clock, as Ross said. But we have the Australian combination of Abella and Holmes up against an Italian-German combination, Franco Riganelli and Chris Grunog from Germany.
Oh, yes!
What an excellent chase down there by the Aussie boys.
What?
Just unable to capitalise on the end of what was an awesome rally. Great chase by these Aussie guys, showing some real promise out there. So it's 12 all here on centre court. Franco Riganelli back to serve. So the Aussie boys definitely making this Italian-German combination play the ball. Relentless in defence, so some really nice transition play, keeping the pressure on this Italian-German combination. 13-12. Massive swing there from Chris Grunog. So it's 13 all here. Grunog back to serve. Big swing there from Riganelli. So Ross, I mean, looking at this, the Italian-German combination are a lot taller than our two Aussie guys, but with the score more or less locked up, they're leading 14-13, there's only 1 point in it. The Aussies are certainly taking it to them, aren't they?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, both these teams lost both their matches yesterday, so they come into this match needing a win. They want to finish the competition with a W alongside their name. You know, nobody wants to go home having not won a single match. So they may be a little bit nervous, Joe. They may be feeling they know what's at stake. They want to come out here and not blow this match. So maybe they are playing a little bit within themselves, both teams. Certainly at this stage, both appear to be taking a fairly cautious approach to their play, and as a result, we've got a very, very even match. It's a doer struggle at the moment, but you suspect that at any moment now one of these teams is going to break out and really pin their ears back, and it's going to be crash or crash through approach, I think, which is probably not a bad thing when the situation is like this. You might as well just pin your ears back and really go for it for a few points, try a few things, see if you can get that couple of point break. You know, it may turn out that it might backfire on you, and your bold moves might end up crashing to the earth in flames, but you know, it's a strategy which sometimes you've got to do just to blow a really tight set apart, and this it has been a very, very tight set, 15 all. We'll see if either team is prepared to throw caution to the wind, and maybe not when the score's 15 all and we're approaching 21. Probably the time to do it, Joe, would be early in the set, get that early advantage early on, but at 15 all you'd probably suspect that they will keep playing a fairly safe kind of, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. There is nothing wrong with that, and you know, it's quite a valid approach to play a cautious type of beach volleyball. You're not going to get anyone trying anything too crazy at this stage. 16 all. Opening set as the sunshine floods centre court here at Manly Beach. It really is a wonderful scene, wonderful place to be at this time in the morning, sitting here with a skim latte and a muffin, which was bought for me by somebody else, so it didn't cost me a cent, which makes it always taste a little bit better, I reckon, when it's a free one. Thank you, Joe Healy, for your incredible generosity.
You're very welcome. To be honest, I needed a coffee, so went and sorted us out. So we have the Italian-German combination serving the Australian 17-16. So Matabella just being called for a ball handling error there. Unfortunate for the Aussie guys, they were well and truly in that rally. Interesting, a couple of maybe sort of suspect sets there off the forearms, but just forcing Will Holmes to, as a right-hander swinging from the right-hand side of the court, it's quite difficult. You really need the ball to be nice and wide, as that set was there, so that he can get a full big approach on it. So Chris Grunig there using the equipment, as we'd say, to earn the Italian-German combination of points. So they've got a 2-point buffer here. Oh, it's 19-16. 19-16, Ross has corrected me. So a 3-point buffer here in the first set. What a point there from the Aussies. Matabella being absolutely massive at the net up against the big German. So a huge point for the Aussies there. 17-19. It's forced the Italian-German combination to call a timeout, try and stop their momentum here in the first set.
And Joe, we've just been given some disappointing news for Australian beach volleyball fans, but unfortunately 2016 Olympian Nicole Laird has injured her back and so has had to forfeit the match, which was to be the next match up on centre court. They were to be playing, Phoebe Bell and Nicole Laird were to be playing Britt Kendall and Shelby Maher on centre court, so a back injury to Nicole Laird has forced her, I hope it's nothing too serious, but they feel that they've had to forfeit the next match, which means next up on centre court we'll have not a bad replacement, Chris McHugh and Damien Schumann up against the Austrians, which should be a cracker centre court match anyway. But yeah, so bad luck for Nicole Laird with that back injury, but let's hope that it's nothing too serious, and I'm not sure whether she's intending to play it all later on today or whether it's just a precautionary measure, but we'll try and find out for you and get you some more information when that comes to hand.
Yeah, thanks for the update there, Ross. Not good news for Nikki Laird, of course, but hopefully it is just a precautionary measure. As Ross mentioned, the girls have got a big World Tour international season coming up, so hopefully she's just thinking ahead and making sure her body is 100% going into that. So a tough service error there from Will Holmes. Brings up set point for the Italian-German combination. Let's see whether the Aussies can pull it back here on the side out. So a good play from then. Matabella there faking the little second ball, almost had Will Holmes tricked as well. Actually probably helped him. It meant that he waited back a little bit on his his approach, so maybe not a bad thing. 19 serving 20. Too strong there, Chris Grunog. So the Italian-German combination winning that first set 21-19. Certainly not a bad effort from Matabella and Will Holmes, the young Australian combination. They'll be looking to regroup in between these sets here and look to come out firing in the second.
Beautiful setup, beautiful backdrop, beautiful bodies everywhere, including in everything. Thanks to the World Australian providing.
Yeah, good result there for the Europeans. They certainly, the boys look pretty relaxed out there. They're fairly laconic chaps. Certainly don't look like they're busting a boiler out there. They are playing well within themselves and just enjoying their beach volleyball, I think, at the moment, and snuck away there late in the set to take that 21-19. You really feel it's the Australians, Joe, that are really going to have to try and lift this game to a whole new level if they want to level this match up, because looking and you know these guys better than I do, but looking at the Europeans, it seems like they have another gear to go to if they need to. They can certainly lift at a level, whereas the Australians, maybe they've used up their box of tricks now. They maybe are running a bit low on new ideas, so they need to really just, in that break, talk about how to change things around, because they may be playing at their very peak at the moment, and they've got to come out there now and resurrect this match, having lost the first set 21-19. They'd be a little bit disappointed because they were in that set for almost the entirety, so they'll come out now, and those first couple of points are absolutely crucial.
They certainly are crucial. As you said, the Aussies, they will be happy with that. A couple of little service errors and a couple of errors from those boys that just gave the European combination a couple of cheeky points. So let's hope they can avoid those in this set, and let's see what they can manage. And there's a good start there. Matabella finding the line, just forcing the defender to have to reach outside of his body. It's a difficult thing to defend when you're in a great position, let alone when you're not in a very good position. So good solid start there from the Aussies. And a massive block from Will Holmes. Read that Rigonelli there, he was coming in on that second ball. Big left-hander, but the Aussies shut him down. It doesn't matter how fast Matabella is across the sand, he wasn't able to get to that cut shot. Pinpoint perfection there. So Chris Grunog back to serve now, 2-1. Another good swing there from Will Holmes. He's hitting the top of the tape quite a lot when he's swinging, but it's also, for the defender, it's changing the direction and the pace of the ball, and it's putting them out a little bit. So perhaps working in his favour here on centre court. Great play there by Rigonelli and Grunog. Good play from the Aussies as well. Solid in transition, excellent defense. Matt Abella in the backcourt seems to be absolutely everywhere. So they're still leading here. It's the Europeans in light blue trailing 2-3. Will Holmes went for the right shot, saw that the defenders were back there on their heels, went for the little cut shot, saw that it was open, but just unable to finish it off in the end into the top of the tape, which brings up 3-all. Cheeky little second play from Matabella. Rigonelli was all over it in defence, but just couldn't finish it off in the end. Also hitting the top of the tape. Ross, maybe the net is a tiny bit high this morning. A few of the guys just seem to be hitting the top of the tape with some of their swings and shots.
I reckon first thing in the morning, Joe, when you've come out to play, I reckon that net would look really, really high. Of course, it's no higher than it normally is, but it would feel like it's had a couple of inches added to it overnight, because it's just a little bit harder to get up out of the sand, I think. But here we go again. We're in another very even tussle, 4-all. After the Australians snuck out early, got those first couple of points, unable to capitalise though, and the Europeans back into it, and here they go. They could actually take the lead here. Yep. So that's disappointing for the Australians. They did what they needed to do, Joe. They came out and took that early lead, as we said they needed to do. But that's all well and good, but then you've got to actually keep the foot on the throat of your opponent, and they weren't able to do that. And the Europeans, these tired old eyes have seen it all, and they're back now and sitting quite comfortably. They could take a couple of point lead here, yeah. So now this is danger time now for the Australians.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think because of the height disadvantage, I suppose, that the Aussies have, they can't create as many angles at the net. So what's working really well for them is the sort of trickier plays, the second ball, and maybe a couple of the shots in attack. So let's see if they can carry on playing those kind of balls. And there you go, Matabella playing a very clever ball off the block, so literally swinging out of court off of the block to earn the Aussies a point. So 5-6 now. They can keep being nifty like that. I think they've got a chance in this second set. There's another solid cross-court cut shot from Chris Grunog. He's played that a couple of times. It's also his height above the net that enables him to play an even sharper angle on that cut shot, so knows exactly what he's doing out there.
Joe, I'm just looking at the lineup for the rest of the qualifiers, or the rest of the pool matches here on centre court. Got some absolute crackers. Let me tell you what's coming up. This will whet your appetite for what we are bringing you on the live stream in the next few matches. The next game will be the Australian top seeds of Christopher McHugh and Damien Schumann taking on the Austrians Scrabble and Friedel. That should be a fantastic match. That'll be followed up on centre court. How about this for an all-Australian matchup? Christy Jenkins, Katie Bartoli against Sarah Batterglean and Steph Wheeler. That'll be an absolute ripper. And then it's an all-manly affair. The Rocamper sisters taking on Volova and Mikulakova. Now, I know that they are Czech and Slovak Republic, but they live here in Manly. They are Manly girls, so it's an all-manly affair between four girls who play a heck of a lot of beach volleyball together. And what a great matchup that's going to be. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, Joe, because at the moment we've got a couple of Australian boys who have managed to somehow get back into the lead. They've dug deep. They've managed to take back the lead at 8-7. Can they hold on to that advantage now?
Not on that occasion again. Chris Grunog too big at the net. But as you say, Ross, the Aussies really digging in here. It's 8-all in their second set on centre court. So a great performance from them so far in this second. Grunog back to serve now. All right, play there from Matabella. Good thinking, really want to keep the defense on their toes. That second play has been working well for them. Just let the ball drop a little bit too low perhaps and caught the top of the tape. So Will Holmes there going for the cross-court shot. He had the call of line from his partner Matabella, but on that occasion unable to find him, and Rigonelli was sitting cross-court. He said, "Thank you very much, easy ball," and an easy transition for our European combination in light blue. Too early.
When do you have to be here?
7:30.
We go to the timeout.
So this Australian combination, Matt Abella and Will Holmes, just calling a timeout, losing a couple of points on the trot. Generally speaking, you don't want to lose any more than 3 points on the trot without calling a timeout, just to try and slow the rhythm down. Sometimes even after 1 or 2 points you will call a timeout, but there's sort of an unwritten rule that after 3, that's it. You're back to your chairs, you're regrouping and having a chat about how you sort the current situation out and how you better your position.
And it does underline, Joe, how badly they're travelling, because one more point and they're technical timeout anyway, but as you said, they can't afford to keep this going, and another point to the timeout would be 13-8. So sensible probably that they're thinking, okay, let's just try and nip this in the bud now. We'll go out, win this next point, and then go to the technical timeout in a much more positive frame of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a big difference between 13-8 and 9-12. So let's see what the Aussie combination, Abella and Holmes, can do here. A good transition there from the Italian-German combination. Good play from the Aussies. You could hear Matt sort of yelling to Will, put it on, put it on. So it's good to see the Aussie guys staying aggressive, really trying to attack the net and the opposition. But they are going to the technical timeout, trailing 8-13.
Isn't it good to see, Joe, that despite the fact that I'm sure both these teams have been playing beach volleyball for years, they still don't realise that 13 plus 8 equals 21, and that equals technical timeout time. Both teams were standing out there, and Darren Grimsey, the referee, had to say, guys, it's technical timeout time. So they slunk off to their chairs, pretending that they knew all along that 13 plus 8 equals 21. But yeah, so that hasn't worked out for the Australians, the timeout they called, and this game is now well and truly slipping out of their control, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Just to argue in defence of the players, there is defence. There is. You're in the zone out there. Sometimes you're not necessarily thinking about the mathematics of the scoreboard. You're thinking about the next serve receive or the next attack. or worse, the previous serve receive or the previous attack. You're stuck in what just happened. So I'll give a bit of a defence to the athletes there.
That's the problem with you players. You all stick together. My thinking is that when they went to sit down for the timeout at 12-8, they knew fully well what the score was then. And they had plenty of time to think about it, and they've come out and played one more point. However, they are very focused athletes, there is no doubt about that. But this game now is really turning very, very ugly for the Australians. That is a lot of points in a row for the Europeans, and they are cruising towards their first win of the Australian Tour Finals.
Yeah, the big German, Chris Grunog, he loved that one. Oh, and another block for the big German. So, as Ross mentioned, they're feeling pretty comfortable out there. They're looking more relaxed as well this set. You can tell they've got a nice little buffer on the scoreboard. So, 16-8. Oh, unlucky there, Will Holmes. Nice set from Matabella, nice and high. It sat up for him, and Will didn't have a block, so he really wanted to go after that one. Sometimes when you get excited on attack, though, you can almost be too excited and your shoulder sort of tenses up a little bit, so you're not hitting the ball quite as high as what you would normally like to. So an ace there for the Italian-German combination, which brings up 18-8 on the scoreboard. Again, right idea from Will Holmes, looking to attack that second ball. So trailing 8-19, and yet they're still being really aggressive out there. So perhaps they won't be too happy with the scoreboard, but they should be happy at least with the intention here. Something to build on for this Australian combination. And a good swing there off the block from Will Holmes. So bringing up the scoreboard now. 10-19.
Yeah, we did say between the sets that it looked like the Europeans had a little bit in reserve, whereas the Australians may have been playing at their very, very best. And it's turned out that way. The Europeans have gone up a level, and the Australians have struggled to keep pace. But as Joe said, they're doing their best to stay positive, and they need to just string some points together now to finish off this match in a positive frame of mind. The second set, it hasn't gone their way, but 19-14, 21-14 or something along that nature would be much better than what it's looking at the moment. 20-10, that is 10 match points now for the Europeans. Should be a very comfortable win for the boys. Their first win of the Australian Tour Finals.
And a block to finish. Chris Grunog, the big German, he's been massive all game. So the Italian-German combination, who are locals down here on Manly Beach for the most part, taking the game 2-0, 21-19, and a comfortable 21-10 in the second set over Matt Abella and Will Holmes. So plenty to build on for the Aussie combination. Some really good signs out there. They'll be looking back on this and hopefully, as I said, taking the positives out. So plenty more action here on centre court. It was meant to be a women's game next, but unfortunately Rio Olympian Nikki Laird, one of the Volleyroos, has had to pull out or forfeit this next match. But as Ross mentioned, not a bad replacement game. We've got the number 1 seeds in the men's competition, Chris McHugh and Damien Schumann, up against the Austrian combination. So do not go anywhere. Stick around for that. If you go anywhere, make it the kitchen. Go grab a cup of tea or a coffee and some breakfast, and then come back and join us for this next match here on centre court at Manly Beach.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, the number one team in the country, freshman gold medal on the World Tour. And Hugh Schumann taking on the Austrian pairing of Swaddle and Cradle. Apologies if I got the wrong word. Cradle, not Cradle. Just warming up in front of the hills, we're going to catch up there and get pumped around the court. He's going to be supposed to be on the outer courts, bringing it back to the people because especially the request of the two and shooter. They just want a grandstand Austin Bowman. And they flash their gold medal from the World Tour. They keep it in their bag at all times. They said, you know what I want, I'm not playing. Shooting, of course, as I mentioned, the number one seed here. Number one player in the country. They are part of the Hello World Volleyroos. They've got a really good, strong culture now here in Glen Ellen. They all live and train. Full-time athletes that we have one team mentality. Like the men's and the women's. Trying together, live together, they're tied together. What's the party? I mean, the network. Stretch. Okay, if there's one thing that's not yet achieved does well, it's that Netflix and stretch. It's Netflix. Now because you've got a seat, they're red hot. The action's about to heat up as well here. The Australian Big Brother Finals. Volleyback 2017. Here goes the first thing here. Last two wickets touch together. We're calling out and getting ready to go. Final chance to hard work, folks. The top of their pool to make it through the final 16 on Super Sunday, the Australian Beach Volleyball Finals. Representing Austria, we've got him in the court, Lucas Strubble and Felix Friedel. And the number 1 seed representing Australia, fresh off a World Tour gold medal. Please welcome to the court, Chris McHugh and Katie Schumann. Let's get on. Watching down along with Chris McHugh. First point for the Aussies. Trying to get that yak from that short cross. 2 points for love.
Welcome back to Centre Court at Manly Beach, and we've got a great match in store here for you. This is the number 1 seeds from Australia, the Guns. Damien Schumann serving, his partner at the net, Christopher McHugh. And they're taking on the Austrians, who have been here all week. They took part in the Four Nations, they've been down in Adelaide, they played at Shepparton. It's been fantastic having them on our shores. They are on the board. 3-1, that is Scrabble and Friedel. Finished 3rd in the Four Nations tournament. And this match was originally going to be on the second court, but unfortunately, if you're just joining us, Nikki Laird, the 2016 Olympian, the Australian young gun, has woken up this morning with a bit of a crick in her back. And I'm sure many people watching would have experienced that. And first thing in the morning, to wake up and have a sore back, the last thing you want to do is come out and start diving around on the sand at Manly Beach, as much as they love doing it. But obviously, as a precautionary measure, Laird and her partner Phoebe Bell have had to forfeit their match this morning. And that has meant that this match has been moved onto centre court. Not a bad replacement. Not a bad replacement, seeing the FIVB World Tour gold medalists from Shepparton and the Four Nations title holders in action on your live screen this morning, coming to you from centre court at Manly Beach. Schumann to serve. The Australians in control early at 5-2, but that is very, very nice placement by Friedel there, finding the gap. Gives the Austrians a handy point. Oh, he pinned his ears back. He thought, well, I'm not going to leave anything on the shelf here. I am going to have a decent crack at this. But unfortunately, sailing along 6-3 now, the Australians in control. And McHugh, as he does, pins his ears back as well, but he finds the net. So a couple of service errors from both teams here as they feel their way into this match. It is the best of 3 sets, of course. My name is Ross Solly. It is good to be with you this morning. A stunning morning here at Volleyfest. Certainly the best morning we've had for the entire Volleyfest campaign. No doubt about that, bar none. The weather is absolutely tickety-boo. Very little wind, no rain. There's sunshine, but also some cloud there to take some of the sting out of the sun. So it really is quite perfect conditions. And at the moment, the Australian pairing of Schumann and McHugh looking like they're enjoying themselves very much. Nice big block at the net from Christopher McHugh. 9-4. The boys look like they're in a hurry, the Australian boys. Now, if you're just joining us and you're wondering what's some of the other results, my goodness, what is it? Wondering what some of the other results are. There's a live blog which is underway on our Volleyball Australia website, Volleyball Australia. volleyballaustralia.org.au. You can follow the live blog there, which is updating scores. There's also, if you go to our Facebook page, you'll be able to find links to the scores for the men's and the women's so far. You can have a look and see all the scores from there as well. So go to our Facebook page, the Volleyball Australia Facebook page, and you'll find all that information as well. So plenty of opportunities there for you to get up to speed, see what's happening, work out the likely permutations for the rest of this competition as we head towards the final pool matches, and then we get down into the serious stuff. We get down into the quarterfinals. A net touch there from the Austrians, unfortunately, gives the Australians 11-6 lead. Nice work there from McHugh, keeping that ball alive. Oh, great placement there from Friedel, just looping it over the Australians. There was not much they could do about that. Yeah, nice work there. Great set there from McHugh for his shorter partner, and Damien Schumann, with all those years' experience, quickly summing up the situation, knew exactly what he had to do. Damo will be in a bit of a funk this morning. His beloved Collingwood last night got absolutely trousered by the Western Bulldogs, so he will be... They did get trousered. There's no other way to describe it. They might have been 4 points down at half time, but they ended up getting their pants ripped down to their ankles. and they were walking around like a bunch of hapless water buffaloes stuck in the mud by the end of the competition. So Damo would be a little bit down about that because he bleeds black and white for the Collingwood Magpies. So Travis Cloke. Do not mention Travis Cloke to Damien Schumann because he may spit in your eye, Joe Healy.
Oh, that moment was unbelievable. Anyone watching that, whether you're a Bulldogs fan or a Collingwood fan, had to appreciate that moment. That was just amazing. So, okay, been told not to mention Collingwood to Damien Schumann. I wonder who Chris supports. He's an Adelaide boy. I presume it would be the Crows over Port Adelaide.
Well, Chris grew up, the first 10 or 12 years of his life, he grew up on the south coast of New South Wales, so I don't know he would have had a lot of exposure to the AFL. But then he has been in Adelaide since he was 12, and it is hard when you live in Adelaide not to get caught up in the whole AFL. There's not a lot of rugby league happens. I think they had the Adelaide Rams, was it, for a little while in the Super League? I can't remember now, many years ago, but I'm sure that Chris has seen the light and come across to AFL. But at the moment, these boys, they are very focused on beach volleyball and very focused on the big picture here. And the big picture is to get Australia up towards the top of the pile again in men's beach volleyball. We've had a few years where we've been back in the pack a little bit, and the time has well and truly come for us to be back up there and knocking on the door of medals at World Tour events, Commonwealth Games medals and the like. And well, is this the combination to do it? Certainly a lot of people are hoping so, if they do decide that this is the combination that will go overseas this year and into the future. Of course, Chris McHugh regularly plays with Isaac Kappa, who only is just having his first tournament back, but he's not playing with McHugh. And Damien, of course, normally plays with Josh Court, and I know Josh, he may well be watching, but I think he might be recuperating in Perth, so knowing Cordy, he won't be up and about just yet, or at least for another 6 hours, because he does like his sleep. But Josh Court also recuperating from injury and an operation, so that's allowed Damien to team up with Chris McHugh, and they're travelling along very nicely at the moment, Joe.
Yeah, they are, Ross. They're looking solid out there. And being helped along by the Austrians, just making a few errors as well. Lucas Scrabble and Felix Friedel. So Damien Schumann to serve. Oh. So the Austrians swing through there. Lucas Scrabble, I'm not sure how he got past Chris's block then. I think Chris looked like he perhaps went up a little bit late, just late to penetrate the net there. Of course, the further over he gets, the more angles he's taking on the block, so he'll want to make sure that he's fixing that up going forward. Oh, what a serve there. Felix Friedel creating the angles from the service line. Not an easy thing to do, to beat Damien Schumann on the serve there, but managed it that time. So Austria now trailing 10-16. Oh, excellent play from both sides there. Some incredible defensive play. Chris McHugh off that first ball over, from the Austrians. So incredible defense there. But Austria, Scrabble and Friedel just coming up with the play. Again, the ball just getting past the block of Chris McHugh. So a timeout called by the Aussies in light blue. They're just going to go and sit down. They do have a nice 5-point buffer here in the first set, but the Austrians have taken the last couple of points, as we mentioned earlier. You don't want to let any sort of team get any kind of momentum in this game. Beach volleyball, as we've seen over the last few days or a couple of tournaments here, what we're on right now, day 9 of Volleyfest, penultimate day. We've just seen so many shifts in momentum. It's the kind of thing that's really easy to spot when you're watching, but not quite as easy to notice when you're on the court. So the players know if somebody gets a couple of points up, they're going to call a timeout, just regroup, slow the game down. If they're out of timeouts, you might see players just go back and pick up the line, or perhaps get their glasses wiped, or little sort of tactics that they can use to try and slow the play down, just regather their thoughts. Let the heart rate go down a little bit as well. Excellent side out there from the Aussies. The timeout doing its job indeed. A little bit of a big pass there from Damo Schumann, but Chris McHugh bringing the ball back onto the net with a beautiful handset, and Damo absolutely firing that away. So 17-11 at the change of ends to the Aussies. Chris back to serve. So just pushing long there. It's a beautiful morning down here in Manly. There's really not much wind around. There isn't really a good or a bad end in terms of the conditions here on centre court. So the Austrians with another point. You could see what Damo was trying to do there. He's trying to put the ball up for Chris to go and swing straight off of his pass, but he just fired that one in a little bit too fast for Chris to get to, unfortunately. He went to play the second ball, but the Austrian blocker all over it. And that's a better option. That's what they were going for. Chris all over that ball. So the Aussies take an 18-13 lead here. Schumann back to serve now.
Really not who's getting in the way of it. Still good for the winner. 13, shooting the coach now.
Nice little line shot there from Chris McHugh. Had the entire cross court free and yet beat both the players down the line. So good play there. You'll notice the ball that sort of came off the net, Chris played it really high into the middle of the court. He couldn't see Damo, so he knew that he just had to play the ball high, give his partner all the time in the world to find his feet and get that ball.
And wide.
So point to the Aussies there. It looked like the Austrian combination just went to play off the top of Chris's hands there on the block, but didn't get the touch they were after. So set point to Australia, 2013. Good turn down the line by the Austrians. Again, looking to go off the hands of Chris McHugh at the net, but couldn't do it. So the Aussies, 21-13 in the first set here on centre court at Manly Beach. Good result for Chris and Damo. They are, of course, our #1 Australian combination, and they're proving it out there right now. And Ross, they too look like they've got another 2 or 3 gears probably. They're just coasting at the moment, playing some really good stuff, but you just get the feeling they're only just getting started today.
Well, and they're certainly quite familiar with the Austrians. The Austrians have been down in Adelaide, training down there at the High Performance Centre there, so they've had a bit of access to the top Australian players. They played against each other, of course, in the Four Nations during the week, and the Australians were very comfortable winners in that match, straight sets winners. So it would be something of an upset, Joe Healy, if the Austrians were to come out and snatch a win here against the #1 Australian team. But I've got to say, having had a little bit to do with the Austrians, chatted to them on a few occasions, these are the sorts of guys that you love having down here in Australia because they're passionate, they're fun, they love the game, they'll do anything. For example, the other day, our resident DJ Tawley, just said to them as a passing remark on the day that everyone had a day off on the Thursday, he said, we're going to go down and have a hit at 10 o'clock, why don't you guys come down and join us? So these boys have been playing a lot of beach volleyball. Sure enough, 10 o'clock the next morning, they rock up there for a hit against DJ Tawley, and I mean, nobody wants to see DJ Tawley with his shirt off at any time. But there they were. They went down there and they looked at it and they had to put up with that. Mind you, I think that they had DJ Tawley had a fairly decent partner helping him out. But yeah, so they're just fun guys, and it's great to have them here. And I know they've enjoyed being here in Australia. Why wouldn't you? And great to see them out there playing some good beach volleyball.
Who was Tooley playing with on that occasion, Ross?
I'll give you a clue. He may have won a tour title here in 1991 or 1990 at Manly Beach.
Another clue?
American.
An American former champion here at Manly Beach. Does his name start with R and end in Andy? Mr. Stoklos?
I'll give you a clue. It's something that many people feel when they're a teenager.
Very well, Ross.
Have you got it now, Joe?
Oh dear.
You are.
Back on centre court, meanwhile, the Aussies have taken an early lead here in this second set. 3-1. The Aussies up against Austria.
In fact, we shouldn't say too much because he's not standing very far away from us. Good morning to you, Mr. Randy Stoklos. Lovely to have you here down under as well, and we're sorry that you had to team up with DJ Tooley with his shirt off for a couple of games on centre court earlier this week. But yeah, the Australians, as you said, look like they could have gone up a gear, and they might be doing it this set, Joe.
Yeah, nice big serve there from Chris McHugh, but the ball from the Austrians just trickling underneath his block and onto the Aussie side of the court, so they go back to serve trailing 2-4. Clever play there from Chris McHugh. Saw the blocker's hands presented in front of him. Said, thank you very much. I'm going to hit straight off of you. So a great end for the Aussies to start this second set, leading 5-2 here on centre court. Manly Beach, as I mentioned, putting on an absolute show this morning. Beautiful conditions out here. The sun's starting to shine through. It's quite warm actually in the sun, so the players will start to be feeling it out there. There's not too much wind around, so the air is quite still. Good serve there from Damien Schumann, which brings up 6-2 to Australia. Excellent vision there, Chris McHugh. You'll notice Damo quite often likes to play the first ball up nice and high just to give Chris every opportunity, every option to swing on that second ball as well as set Damo for the attack. Just creates chances for this Australian combination. Leading 7-2 here. Damo again, the Aussies finding the block of the Austrians. So leading 8-2 here in the second set, a really comfortable lead for the Australians so far. Chris McHugh just gifting the Austrians a fairly easy ball. Not sure if you heard what he said, I won't repeat it. But they got lucky there, the Austrians firing the ball, scudding it out the back. So cheeky little smile there from Chris. He knows he got away with an easy point there. So the players back out on centre court here at Manly Beach. Australia leading 9-2 in this second set, having taken the first set 21-13. So no touch off the block there. So point to Australia. 10-2 now, leading by 8 points. First to 21 here in the second set. Of course, if we go to a third set tiebreaker, we only play to 15. But it certainly does not look like that's going to happen today, Australia. 11-2. Chris McHugh and Damien Schumann showing exactly why they're the #1 Australian combination at the moment. Great control there by the Aussies. A little bit of pressure from the Austrians there. They got the ball back a couple of times. A little bit relentless there for the Aussies, but stayed poised and composed out on court. Great defense pulling off the net there by Chris McHugh as well. Showing he's not just a massive blocker at the net, he's nimble and agile in defense as well. Damien Schumann, that's got to be the dig of the tournament so far. Ross Solly, that was incredible.
Yeah, and you know, the boys need to be able to keep the pressure on, because even though they've got this match in the bag, they need to get into that mentality where they can put sides away and not sort of take their foot off the pedal at all, because they're going to have much tougher matches than this year when they go on the World Tour, and it's important that they learn to deal with keeping that intensity at a high level. And even though, you know, look at the scoreboard and it might be 13-3, and there might be a temptation just to cruise to victory, but I'm sure that their coaching staff would want them to really drive this home and to make sure that they... There's a bit of confusion out there about something. Joe, did you pick up what that was?
Didn't totally pick it up. A point has gone to the Australians though, so I presume perhaps a net touch or something like that was called. I must have blinked for a second, but the Austrian combination being handed a yellow card for maybe talking a little bit too much to the referee up on the stand. So Damien Schumann serving. So another point to the Aussies. The error there from the Austrian combination, Scrabble and Friedel, bringing up a 15-2 lead. Great swing there by the Austrian guys. They probably needed that just to get a little bit of confidence and momentum back in their court. They trail 3-15. You'd call it not even an uphill battle from here, an impossible battle for them to get back in the second set.
And Joe, it's been so long since they've served that they've forgotten whose turn it was. So it goes to show how long it was between drinks for the Austrians, but they're finally back out there and they've got it sorted now.
Chris McHugh unable to put that ball away, but an awesome set from Damien Schumann. Completely out of position from that pass, but rushed his feet to the ball, put up a beautiful hand set for Chris there, making it look very easy indeed. These guys, one of the big strengths of this Australian side is their ability to hand set the ball from any position, whether it's a good pass or a bad pass. These guys are working their bums off, let's say, to get their feet in position to take that ball above their head. It's not an easy thing to do, but it absolutely puts them in a great position on their attack every single time. That ball long, so Chris and Damo there just trading places. Damo blocking at the net, which you don't see very often. Chris being the bigger athlete, he's usually up there at the net. So technical timeout, you don't see this very often, a 17-4 lead. So anyone who's watching, if you're close to Manly Beach, you're around Sydney today or tomorrow, get down here. Beautiful weather, the sun's out, the atmosphere is really starting to build. Sensational Saturday, I think we're calling it, ahead of Super Sunday. So plenty of action down here at the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour Finals. We're loving every minute. Ross Solly's loving it. He's scoffing his face with a muffin. He's enjoying that. He's just nodding. Yep, can't talk, mouth is full of food, but he's definitely enjoying it. As am I. We're going to try and speak to a number of athletes throughout the day and tomorrow, so keep it tuned in here and you'll have all the insight from centre court and around the tournament. So the players back out on centre court now. Chris McHugh and Damien Schumann, 17-4 leading Lucas Scrabble and Felix Friedel from Austria. So Australia versus Austria here on centre court. Chris McHugh to serve. So great defensive play from Chris McHugh there, but Damien Schumann just pushing that set a little bit too far, a little bit too tight for Chris to be able to get onto it. So bit of a gift point there for the Austrians, serving 5-17. Chris making up for that error there, absolutely pounding the ball into the sand. So the Aussies back on track, 18-5, Damo Schumann to serve. So Chris stuck in what you'd call no man's land there, which is the spot in between your blocking position at the net and your defensive position a little bit further back. If you make a late decision to pull from the net, you can sometimes get caught there in no man's land and it's almost impossible to defend from. And an error there from the Austrian side. Scrabble and Friedel, so giving the Aussies an easy point back. Let's see what Chris can do from the service line here. Chris McHugh, usually the massive block enforcer at the net, but on this occasion, as I said, the nimble defender, earning himself match point for he and Damien Schumann. So back to the service line. Ooh, Damien Schumann unable to secure the block on that occasion. So Austria getting another point on the board, making the scoreline not look quite as bad for them. So 7 serving 20, match point still here to Australia. And a sky ball to finish from the Austrians. We don't see too many of those here, but nothing that Chris and Damo can't deal with. So Australia, well, a really easy, comfortable win for them. The scoreboard in the second set perhaps not reflecting the level of the Austrian play. 21-6 in the second, but 21-13 in the first, Ross. So a good game for the Aussies. The Austrians, a few errors sneaking in, so probably won't be too happy with that one, but of course they are up against the #1 seeds here, so a really tough game for them this morning anyway.
Yeah, indeed, and as we said, important for the Australians to finish that match, to close that match out, and they did that quite comfortably. We've got a great women's match coming up very soon, an all-Australian affair. Christy Jenkins, Katie Bartoli against Sarah Battaglina and Steph Wheeler. We'll be back. That match is down to start at 10 o'clock. I'm going to go down and see if I can talk to the boys and grab an interview for you. So we'll take a short break from our live stream and we'll be back just before 10 o'clock. So join us then for more crackerjack action from the Australian Tour Finals on a gorgeous Saturday morning. Spectacular Saturday, as Joe Healy has branded it. Well, join us then.